180,000 people. The largest paying audience any solo performer had ever drawn in the history of live music. And 20 minutes before she walked out to face them, Tina Turner was standing in the wings, watching an old woman who had no idea she was there. Rio de Janeiro, January 16, 1988. The Maracanã, the largest stadium in the world, had been built for football, for the kind of passion that Brazilians brought to the game the way other cultures bring it to religion. It held, on match days, 200,000 people. On this particular January night, 180,000 of those seats were filled. Not for football. The Break Every Rule World Tour had been running for over a year. It had played across Europe, North America, Australia, Japan. It had broken attendance records on 3 continents. But this was different. This was the largest concert in the history of the tour. The largest, in fact, in the history of solo performance. 180,000 people. The production team had been in Rio for 5 days. The stage alone had taken 3 days to build, a structure that stretched across the width of the Maracana pitch like something that belonged to a different scale of human endeavor entirely. Sound towers at each corner, video screens visible from the highest tier, a lighting rig that, when switched on at full capacity during the afternoon sound check, could be seen from across the city. A crew member named Daniel, who had worked with major touring productions for 12 years, said he had never built anything like it. He said it took a moment, standing on that stage during soundcheck, to remember that it was a concert stage. It looked more like a place where something permanent was supposed to happen. Tina Turner arrived at the stadium 4 hours before showtime. She went through her pre-show routine with the same precision she brought to every night of the tour. Vocal warm-up, costume check, a walk through every element of the set list with her musical director. Then a period of quiet. The period of quiet was not scheduled. It was not on the production sheet. But anyone who had toured with Tina long enough knew it happened. 20 to 30 minutes before she walked out, she found a place, backstage, in the wings, sometimes simply a corridor, where she stood alone. Not meditating, not reviewing, just being still in the middle of all the noise. On this night, she found a spot in the stage left wings. From there, she could see the edge of the crowd. 180,000 people. The sound they made, even before the show started, even just moving and talking and existing together in that space, was unlike anything she had heard before. Not a roar, a hum. The low, steady hum of a crowd so large it generates its own weather. She was standing there, looking out at the edge of that crowd, when she noticed the woman. She was sitting in a folding chair at the very edge of the stage left wing, old, 70, perhaps older, small in the way that some people become small with age, as if they are slowly returning to an earlier version of themselves. She was wearing a light blue dress. Her hands were folded in her lap. Her name was Maria. She was the grandmother of one of the local production staff, a young man named Eduardo, who had spent the last 5 days helping build the stage and had, that afternoon, quietly arranged for her to have a folding chair in the wings. Eduardo had not told his grandmother what was going to happen. He had simply placed her there. And she had sat down and waited with the patience of a woman who had learned, over many decades, that the best things are worth sitting still for. Tina watched her for a moment. The old woman had not seen her. She was looking out toward the crowd, the same 180,000 people, with an expression Tina could not fully read from where she was standing. Not awe, exactly. Something older than awe. Tina walked toward her quietly. She stopped a few feet away. Maria turned. She looked at Tina Turner for a moment. Then she smiled. Not the smile of recognition, of a fan seeing the person they had come to see. A different smile. The smile of someone who had been expecting company. Tina crouched down beside the chair. She said through an interpreter who had followed her quietly from the backstage area that she hoped Maria was comfortable. Maria said she was very comfortable. She said she had been sitting in that chair for 2 hours. She said she had wanted to arrive early. Tina asked if she had ever been to a concert before. Maria thought about it. Then she said yes, once, many years ago. She named a Brazilian singer whose name Tina didn't recognize. She said that concert had been in a small room with perhaps 200 people. She gestured, without turning around, toward the crowd behind her. She said, "This is a little different." Tina laughed. It was not a performance laugh. It was the kind that surprises the person doing it, the kind that comes from somewhere the pre-show stillness hadn't quite reached. She stayed beside that chair for 11 minutes. Later, her tour manager, checking his watch from across the wing, would mark the time, not with irritation, with something closer to wonder. Maria asked her at one point if she was afraid. Tina looked at her. She said, "Of what?" Maria gestured again toward the crowd. Tina was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "No?" She said, "They came because they want to feel something. And I came because I want to give it to them. That's not something to be afraid of. That's something to be grateful for." Maria looked at her for a long moment. Then she nodded. She unfolded her hands from her lap and reached out. She took Tina's hand in both of hers and held it for 3 seconds. She didn't say anything. She didn't need to. Tina Turner walked out onto that stage 9 minutes later. 180,000 people saw her appear at the top of the stage ramp. The sound that came out of them, the collective sound of that many human beings responding to a single presence, was later described by engineers who had measured it as equivalent to a sustained thunderclap. She performed for 2 hours and 14 minutes. She gave everything. The way she had given everything every night of the tour. And the way, though the tour was almost over and the records had already been set and the history had already been made, she would continue to give everything for the rest of the career that still lay ahead of her. Eduardo found his grandmother after the show. She was still in the folding chair. The stadium was emptying around her. 180,000 people making their way toward the exits in waves. He asked her what she had thought. She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, she was not afraid. Eduardo said he knew. Maria shook her head. "No," she said. "I mean she was grateful." 180,000 people, the largest solo concert in the history of live music. And the moment that made it possible, the moment that made the performance everything it was, happened in the wings. In a folding chair, between a woman who had been doing this for 30 years and an old woman in a light blue dress who had simply come early. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs to hear it today. Subscribe for more untold stories from the legends who gave everything. And leave a comment. Where were you the first time Tina Turner made you feel something? We read every single one.